Hi, I want to give an update on the Bezy font editor project. So normally when I'm on YouTube, I'm doing a lot of programming videos showing how I use AI tools like Claude Code and tiling window managers on Linux to work on this project. But I don't do a lot of videos talking about what the project is or why I'm working on it. So I want to start doing, instead of my normal programming videos, I want to start doing project updates where I talk about um, why I'm working on this project and where it's going and kind of the backstory and history on it. So just to kind of give you an idea of like where it comes from, it's pretty heavily inspired by um, certain other font editors. And it's trying to, I think, fill a gap in the market for a font editor that is for kind of like a very technical person, um, somebody that wants to do a lot of automation, is familiar with the command line, and beyond that, it wants to actually, I think, push more people to use like AI and command line heavy workflows to automate their work and work faster. Um, yeah, so one of the big inspirations for this project was Modular Font Editor K from Frederick Brennan. And what Modular Font Editor K is, it was really interesting. It was um, kind of an attempt at doing a a Unix style font editor. So instead of having all the applications, like just one application that is like, so instead of having one application that is just one cohesive thing that everything happens in, it was trying to do like the minimum of font editing that you need to do in a GUI, but assuming that the users would be mostly using command line workflows and automation. And I thought this was like really smart. And it's there were certain things about the way the project was done that were making it like kind of difficult to build upon. Um, but the I think the idea was really solid, and so I really wanted to see that. And but I mean, long before Modular Font Editor K existed, there was another font editor that was kind of, I think, one of the main font editors um, before glyphs came around. And I think a lot of people doing type design today almost don't even remember this. Like, I think a lot of people just came up like when glyphs was like becoming the dominant font editor. But before that, there was RoboFont, and RoboFont was the um, so there's a lot of things to talk about RoboFont. RoboFont had RoboFont had kind of a design philosophy about um, users kind of creating their own tools, and RoboFont was intended to be just a platform that you could build upon. And I think like a good example of this, I think when I first used RoboFont, the thing that I thought was really cool is like it didn't come with a shapes tool for creating like a square or a circle or a rectangle. And you had to just kind of like import in the shapes tool that someone else made. And I thought that was really cool because it's like a really basic tool, and like most people making like a commercial a commercial is the wrong term. Like I think prosumer is the right term. Like right, like that's kind of what Glyphs is it's like a prosumer font editor. It's targeted at people that they don't want to go deep into the technical side of things. They just want to like have the best tool to make a font. And so what that kind of does though is I think that kind of limits you, and it sweeps all the technical details under the rug. And it kind of takes away the like learning opportunities that RoboFont had. And the other thing about RoboFont, like RoboFont used, with their primary source file was the UFO source file, Unified Font Object, which was a editor agnostic file format. And I think more importantly was that it was user editable and modifiable, and it was kind of designed for you to go into the source code and look at it. And I thought that was something that was really good and like really interesting. And that was just totally lost with the Glyphs format. The other thing about the Glyphs format is the Glyphs format, it didn't work as well in Git because you'd have to check in the whole file in a Git repo. And that's why people started using the Glyphs package format, because you could, like, if you needed to do like a change to the font info or something, like you could PR that to a repo and it would just go in without touching the other files. And the other thing, so one of the big questions I'm trying to answer, and I've been doing a lot of research on this, and like I'm working on a blog post about this, is like, what is the best font source format for AI training data? And I think that UFOs definitely, like, I just in like my little experiments I've done, I think that's better. And I've found some like AI research work that kind of backs this up, that like XML and Markdown in a lot of cases work better than JSON for certain things with large language models. But I haven't explored this as deeply as I want to, but one of the things I'm working on now is like a big blog post where I'm going to lay out all my ideas on this, and I'm going to just invite anyone to critique it or tell me why I'm wrong, because a lot of times, like, I think the criticism or the idea that Glyphs is a better format for this kind of thing is just kind of, or for anything, it's just like, oh well, you know, you can do this one like specialized thing in it better, and yeah, but that comes at the expense of, like, big industry has put all this energy into like funding Glyphs and like pushing them to like make the format better, and then the UFO format is just getting ignored. Yeah. So anyway, so this is all stuff I've been thinking about when I'm making this editor. So I really like RoboFont. I really like Modular Font Editor K. And I really like Rust as the language for writing these GUI tools. And that's just what clicks to me. And so just to my taste as a programmer, like Rust is just what I enjoy working in. It's like my main programming language, and I think it has a lot of the cultural ideas of Python in it, where part of the goal of Python is to kind of make programming easy for domain experts. And you could see that in both like machine learning, where Python's very popular, and in type design, where Python's very popular. So it works really well in these areas where someone has some expertise in like a niche thing, like machine learning, type design, whatever. And of course, like with whatever you're doing, like for things that deal with a lot of data, you're gonna end up like writing your own custom programs. And the people that are best at writing these programs are usually domain experts and not like core CS people. Like if computer science is your thing and you like went to school for computer science, you've kind of like maxed out certain skills in favor of these other skills. And you have all these blind spots. And I think you kind of see this in like in kind of AI machine learning stuff for vector graphics. A lot of it is like the people with the specialization in each don't talk to people with the specialization in the other. And when they do try to talk to each other, there's too much lost in communication. So you end up not making progress as quickly as you might want to. And this is also something that I think is true for things like font engineering. Like I think that one of the ways that AI is going to change font engineering is font engineering. I think before AI, there were a lot of people that were doing it that didn't really have like taste or aesthetic sensibilities or cultural interests. Like maybe they might be interested in linguistics, but there's too big of a gap in thinking between the kind of aesthetic side and the technical side. And no matter how hard you try to like combine like one or two people with these roles, like it's just you really need like one person that understands both sides to really do it at the highest level. And so that's kind of part of the thinking behind the editor I'm working on. Is I'm kind of designing it for not the practitioner that I think exists today, because like if you look at what I'm doing, it's like you're like, oh, like no one's gonna want to use that. They just want to use glyphs. Okay, fine. But I think like a big thing in that industry is there's just like a lot of kind of just like young people that like just want to like express themselves and don't know any of the technical stuff, and they don't want to go deep into the global script stuff. And it all just becomes very surface level. But there's this really kind of like awesome, like more in-depth area that is underdeveloped. And so this is an editor that is for it's for experts, but I think that even amateurs, I think will prefer it just because it's more fun to use. So I want to kind of talk about the TUI shift. So a big change I made to this editor recently is I switched the kind of architecture from being the way it was originally designed was with a game engine, which is Bezy, and that's kind of how it got its name, because Bezy is an open source game engine in Rust. And I didn't think this was going to become like a big serious project that I would actually finish. But the more I worked on it, the more I just realized, oh yeah, like this is actually working. So anyway, that's where Bezy comes from. It's Bezier curves, but I just using Bevy, which makes it kind of tricky because like if I hit a wall with Bevy, I'll probably have to either use the GUI stuff that the Z editor is using or the Xylem stuff that Rafe Levine's using. But I guess I'll just maybe keep calling it the same thing and just keep working on it. But so the TUI thing that happened recently was I've been using my main tool I use to work on this is Claude Code, which is a TUI, and I really like it, and it's been getting better and better. And from the start of this project, what I wanted was early in the development of this project, I would say, like if I had to do the elevator pitch for it, I would say I'm building cursor for fonts. So it's basically an all-in-one editor, which like cursor is an editor. So it's an editor, but it has all the AI agents and assistants and tools built in, so that you get all these, and that's kind of what Z is too. So you get all these like niceties of like everything being built in, but it kind of like I was using cursor when I started building the project, but I think a couple months in I started switching to Claude Code, and now I'm totally on Claude Code. Like Claude Code is the pretty much of all the AI tools I'm using, I have a couple that I use here and there, but it's like Claude Code is like 95% of it. I'm in Claude Code for everything. Like it's really like my go-to right now. And so I really like the TUI interface because I'm able to use Vim, and it works really well on a tiling window manager on a Linux desktop. So what I did is I used this library called Ratatouille, which is a very popular Rust text user interface library. And I started building the application in a way where previously it was designed so the application could be headless. So that means that it's primarily a command line application, and it can work with tools like Claude Code. So like Claude Code, it actually does an okay job of working with UFO files. Like you could say, I want to add all the Unicode code points for whatever. It does an okay job. It's the more visual stuff and like getting visual feedback that it doesn't do as well on. And so the idea with this editor is that we would be able to do things like kerning, weight extension, like if you only have a regular and you wanted to add a black or bold weight. The ultimate goal is language extension, so you could take any open source font and say, I want this to have full Arabic support, and it would get you like 95% of the way there, and then you're going to have to do some manual cleanup, but you'll have tons of like AI assistant tools in the editor helping with that. So I'm setting it up now. So it was meant to be a headless CLI application, and now it's a CLI application where if you run it, it launches a TUI that has all these menus and options, and like you can select like your Unicode code point that you're editing. And eventually this will have, very similar to Claude Code, is it will have like a little like AI chat assistant in it. And this is, this is a GPL open source project, but I do fully intend to turn this into like a commercial product that makes money. And I think the way I want to do that is charging for remote model access. So you would, just like Claude Code, you would pay to access certain remote models that run on a server. And I'm looking into doing that, possibly doing that with crypto micropayments. So you would do, instead of having a subscription, you could just pay with stable coins on like the Ethereum base L2. But I think I might change my mind if it's just depending on where crypto adoption is, like this time next year. I might maybe do something like a traditional subscription like Claude Code. So yeah, anyway, so I did the whole TUI transition, and that's been really interesting. I think that it's either brilliant or stupid. Like, I just don't know yet. Like, it could be a total just breakthrough in UI. I think the other, like, I've already had one breakthrough in UI with this, is that I added, let's see, I added a multi-buffer text editor. So Glyphs is just like a one buffer text editor. Like, you can't have Latin and Arabic at the same time. It's just one buffer. And it's kind of a limited design space. But Bezy has this kind of like open world space that you can put all these different buffers in, and they can have different properties. Like, they can have different leading, they can have different tracking, they can have different, like, one can be right to left, one can be left to right. So this is, I think Glyphs, I'm pretty sure they didn't add Arabic right to left support until much later in the process, and Fontra also hasn't added right to left support. So that's one thing that makes this editor unique, is that it's built for right to left scripts from the start. Yeah. So anyway, so we've got the TUI is now kind of like fully built in, and I've done some interesting things with it. One of them is, I always want to say Font Bakery, but it replaced Font Bakery. It's Font Spectre, which is a Rust-based QA tool. And so I've built that into the TUI, where the editor uses font C, so it can quickly kind of compile the font you're working on. And it uses a modified version of Font IR, which is a part of Font C. And that just kind of allows everything to like be a quick feedback loop, and you get your QA reports. So yeah, I'm gonna keep working on this. I'm getting really close to the version 0.1 release, which I think should happen. I just keep running into bugs and issues, but I think the version 1.0 release, that should happen by the end of October. And that will have a full functioning TUI, and it will be able to, you can open a UFO, you can edit it, and it's it's basically like a full working editor. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep working on it. Um, it's I think one way to think about this is I'm kind of following the like Rick Rubin kind of style with this, where I'm I have in my mind like I wish that font editors were like this, and so I'm really just building this like for me. I don't think that like I think a very possible outcome of this project is that nobody except me wants to use it, and I just use it, and it's just something I use um, for fun. Um, and I think, oh, anyway, my camera just shut off. Okay, there we're back. But anyway, so this is going to be something that I just use for fun, and if I can get if I get other users, with that would be great. But um, if not, that would also be interesting because um, I have zero interest in doing like manual type design. It's not interesting to me at all. Like it's I like to tweak little details, but the amount of time and effort it takes is not interesting to me. And I'm also like not super interested in. I think the thing that's holding this entire craft back is people are very interested in like authorship is just core to a lot of the reason why people do this, and it's like they do it to say, oh look, there's this thing that I did, even though it's never really something you did because it's a mimetic design that's based on like just hundreds and hundreds of people like iterating on this design. Like you it's really hard to point to a like a neo grotesque and say like I did this like from a design perspective. I think it's almost easier to say that from a font engineering perspective because with like neo grotesques and stuff like that, like it could be like a beautiful design, but what really matters is like the engineering and the licensing. Like what's the like how can you use it? What's the license? Like that's the stuff that matters. Um, so yeah, like I'm not really interested in like the authorship stuff, but like I would just love to have an AI editor that could just let me just pump out like super high quality stuff. Like it doesn't need to be original. I just want to like take a picture of like a this is a good example. I'm like I love these like this Letraset book. So, I just want to run a camera through this and I just want to get high quality fonts out of all these images. And to me, like the authorship is the editor. Like I do care about like I would be that's part of why I licensed the editor under the GPL. Like I would be sad if someone forked this editor and didn't give me credit for my work. Like I would be really sad about that. Um, but um, having been frustrated with using glyphs, like I also understand that just like it's it's just absolutely maddening to use a tool like this that you're getting really into the details of like a very technical craft where you don't have control over your tools. So there's really no there's just to me there's just no way that I could ever be happy using closed source tools. And like RoboFont really planted that seed. Like RoboFont, had this idea that if you're just completely captive if you're not able to control your tools. And they never took it far enough because they didn't have crypto and meme coins, and they just didn't have a business model for this kind of stuff. But they had the right idea. So anyway, I'm gonna keep working. I'm gonna start doing these non-technical updates along with my like coding updates pretty regularly. So I think it's a nice way for anyone that's following the project or wants to contribute. This would be a great way to just catch up on what's happening. And I guess that's the other thing I'll say before I leave is that if you want to learn Rust or you just want to work on a project with me, or I would love to have contributors on the repo. Like if I'm willing to teach you Rust, I'm willing to we might have, if I can get some regular contributors, I'd like to have like a Friday stand-up meeting or something. I think that would be really fun. I, you know, I think there's a lot of people that would like to find open source projects they could contribute to that maybe don't have the time to be like a founder or maintainer of the project themselves, but they would like to contribute to one. So hopefully I can find some of those people, and I'd love to have contributors. But anyway, thank you for watching. I'm going to keep making these updates, and have a good one.